recording up, and then I'll just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
Cool.
No, just
Actually,
make
so
sure. Good.
I do want to say, so I watched this back in the beginning, and right
Mm.
here, I think I got a little bit. So I got a lot of ult charge really quick, and then I started playing more aggressive, and I was putting my shield down, and my Lucio gets picked off, and I didn't
Mm.
realize it, and I kept just swinging, and I ended up dying because I didn't. I basically had no shield and no health, and that was probably from letting my Lucio die. So I think
Uh-huh.
that's going to be a pretty obvious mistake that happens
Yeah.
here.
All right.
Anything else, I don't.
Yeah, okay, well,
I'm
that's
not aware
really
of.
good already. Like if you think that you're already identifying mistakes, that's a really good trait to have because the first step to improving is to know what you're doing wrong, right? Which comes with
Yeah,
identifying what the mistake was. Second step after that would just be figuring out what you could have done instead, right? What could have been the
I
solution to
don't
it?
know. Yeah, because
Mm,
I mean, there was a few times that I was looking at where I was kind of standing out in the open,
mm,
like looking down there. I had my shield up, but I wasn't like nobody was behind me, so I was like,
mm.
that's kind of pointless to have my shield out. Um, that's the only thing that I could see. I mean, I'll let you
All right.
tell me what I could have done better, but really, I don't know how to do it better.
Sounds good. It'll probably be more than two things.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So yeah. In any case, that's a nice juicy fire striker off the start. 40 ult charge, man. All right. So it's already looking really good. One thing we're gonna say right before you said something was just make sure we're giving our Zarya energy whenever we see she bubbles us. Like here she bubbles us, and then we kind of keep shield up. So just here, make sure we're not putting shield up when we see that she has a bubble on us. All right, and then let's just see what happens. All right, so far it's looking pretty solid. All right, right there was
Yeah,
probably a big thing, was that we just kind of held up shield for no particular reason. So when in terms of Reinhardt shielding, you have kind of six, probably maybe I'd say like seven main things that you're shielding for, and it's real simple to remember. It's not very different here. So you have when you are low, you shield. When you have teammates that are low, you shield. When you're blocking ultimates, you shield. When you're blocking abilities, you shield. When you're pushing, you shield. When you're backing up, you shield. And if you see a ton of spam damage coming in and you want to block it, right, because you know somebody's going to die, then you can shield, right? But and of course, it's going to be situational. There's going to be exceptions to that. There's going to be other times where you do shield, but those are the core main ones of where we're shielding. And kind of here, we're going to notice, like, if we go back and look at that, none of those are really checked off here while we're shielding, right? Like, we kind of come in here and let's see when we do shield. All right, we're shielding a little bit there, right? And then right here when we do our shield right now, and right here, right?
yeah,
Um, no one's low. We're not pushing. We're not backing up. We're not blocking abilities, ultimates, right? It's nothing in particular. It's just we're blocking spam damage, right? And we just lose all our shield like immediately off of it, right? So us
yeah,
holding up our shield here just isn't really accomplishing very much, while also just putting us down our shield, which means that now we don't have any protection, right? We can't use it for anything if we do need it, right? So we just want to make
yeah,
sure that we're not leaving it up for random spam damage when we probably are going to need it for other things, right? So also just try not to let your shield. I think we let it go down to 19. Usually try to also make sure you're giving yourself like a emergency like 200, 300 left on your shield. That's usually a good idea just for like in case you are 1 HP or in case you have a teammate who's 1 HP or like in case you need to block a shatter or something like that, right? Is usually a good idea to just leave a little bit of a like 200, 300 left on your shield. And then also you'll notice that it's actually going to recharge faster if you're not letting it break all the way. All right. And then because yeah, so there I don't even think it was the Lucio. It was just because the Lucio died because we didn't have a shield to put up for him, right? So
yeah,
the initial process of our shield breaking was the problem, not that we weren't holding it up, because we don't even have it really as an option here because
yeah.
it's at like 300 and then we're also like 100 HP. So the big problem there was just the shield management that put us at like 1 HP there. Um, yeah, that was big mistake that opened up the fight.
And so there you would have basically just not looked out and just taking that
Yep.
damage with shield,
Exactly.
and
Just
that
sit
would have
sit
helped.
beyond the wall, right? You don't have no reason to peek unnecessarily, right? You just wait that on the corner, wait for them to come to you, and then you swing into them, right? You shield if necessary, right? You shield like if you like what any of the stuff I just listed off, right? You're shielding if you need it for any of that when you're like backing up away from them, but you don't need to shield for just random spam. All right. So here, do we have our team pushing in with us? Yeah, for the most part. All right. So we can just go in here probably. Oh my goodness, we got shredded. Um, when we're fire striking, usually a good way to fire strike. Just keep in mind, just a fire strike tech is that we can, because fire strike has an animation, we can actually charge it up right before we turn the corner. Right, that way maybe we can get it off with while also not being out in the open for so long. But here our health just disappears. So.
Yeah.
Alright, so both Reinhardts have Shatter. Good decision not to go in there. And we're waiting. Alright, so we have our whole team. They're all up top. Probably wanna be with them. Or like make sure we're not just separating too much. Wait, what happened there? Did we get shattered or how did we go down?
I
Oh,
shattered, but
pin,
I
pin,
didn't hit
yeah,
the Rhine,
the
so
counter
pin.
pin. Yeah. Alright. Nice block. Alright, so here in this instance, we're not utilizing cover too much. Trying to think. The big thing is that we're engaging, and notice like how many teammates we have with us in comparison to them, right? They're all stuck up here with this grab dragon, but meanwhile it's like us basically versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Kind of. Where and then you maybe have like Ash to help you out in the beat, and then that's it. So at the moment, the big thing I would say is we want to be aware of where our team's at, right? So right now in this instance, we don't really have any team support, and that means we probably shouldn't be this far forwards on our own. The other thing might be to just make sure that you're sticking with your team and you're not walking off on your own, right? It's your team's job to stick with you, but it's also your job to pay attention to, is my team with me? If you're walking in without your team, then that's on you, not necessarily on them, because you can't really control what they're doing, right? So just make sure you're not going in on your own without anybody following you. And then
My
that way,
question, yeah,
good.
my question with that is that makes sense. I find it hard for me to know where my team is because I feel like I should always be ahead of them,
Hmm.
right? So if I like put my shield down to like look at where they're at and stuff, then I feel like I'm gonna get shot in the
Yep.
back or take unnecessary damage or
Yeah. Yeah.
something, or
So
someone will get picked off.
couple
I don't know.
couple different things, right? So first off, the big thing. Oh, for some reason I'm pinging here in the training range, but in any case, couple different things. Like mainly of two different ways. First off, before you're even you're looking behind you, and but it's especially before you're pushing in aggressively. So right there, when we're engaging, when we're about to push forwards, let's say like we're trying to push around this corner, right? The whole enemy
Yeah,
team's over there, and we're pushing around this corner, right? Before we're passing the corner, we're doing a quick, just 180. We're looking behind us real quick, right? So that's the first big one. That would be like in that instance, like you're not gonna walk out here and then turn around, right? Instead, you're going to just turn around before you walk out. Go, oh snap! I have some people in spawn still. Now I'm gonna wait, right? So this is just first off, just check before you're getting super aggressive. The second thing is just remember you can turn around and use your shield to look behind you, right? And this is a way that you can be assessing where your team is before you're, while without having to turn your back to them, right?
I
And
didn't
then
know that you could do that.
yeah, so this
And
is so that you know how to. This is you hold right click obviously for the shield, and
yeah,
then you hold down left click, and this is going to allow you to drag around. Now as you're exiting it, you have two different options. You can let go of right click, in which case you'll turn to where your crosshair is at. So let go of right click, let go of right click, right? But if we decide that we want to just snap back in place, we would let go of left click, right? And then we snap to the front, right? So this is going to allow us to look behind us without changing the direction of our shield, and we can walk around with this or whatever, right? But that's another one. But at this, usually that's only going to be if like you're in the middle of a fight and you want to do it. But obviously, if you're walking into a fight and you need to do that, and you see that your whole team's not with you, then you've already made the mistake of not checking back there, right?
That makes sense. Yeah, I
But
should have
it.
been out there. Yeah.
All right. So now that was a Havana game. Hope this is the one.
Traveling to Havana, ready for battle.
How y'all doing?
All right, so we were ahead of this. So yeah, we dropped.
Right here. Yeah.
So really as soon as we dropped, right, we should have, and like even up here, I'd be like checking where's my team at. We could probably even coming out up top might be a good idea. But if we drop, you just want to make sure, oh snap, team's up there. At the very minimum, once we realize our team's not with us, we can run up the stairs to help them out. We can maybe like pin up here, right? Like just pin in after the Zarya, for example, right? And like, what are they gonna do? Maybe they could try shooting at us, but then we have an immortality field there, right? Um, so that's an option. But then the other big thing is just don't go in and engage and get super aggro. Alright. Alright, so skipping forward a little bit. We just kind of got shredded. Nice shield, nice shatter block. Alright. And we got our whole team. Yep, we do. Just making sure. Alright, so we're engaging here. Just want to recheck this. Alright, May. Well, that's unfortunate.
I wasn't gonna hit that Reinhardt anyway. That's what I was going for, but he got
Yeah.
out of there. But then, yeah, that wall was gone, and I was just like right in there.
Yep. Alright. That is unfortunate. Yeah. So, the only thing I was thinking maybe there when we were approaching, we could have gone for some shield hopping, though I'll keep an eye on that while we're trying to move in and see how we kind of do our approach.
Yeah, when I was down there after I missed that charge, I thought I was like, I'm gonna die here, so I was just trying to swing for some ult charge.
Oh, so just when it comes to tracking shatters, right? The big thing is how you do it is you first off just make sure you're paying attention to it, right? Because obviously it's your job to take care of that. So we need to track, does he have it? Does he not have it? And then that way we're able to block him more efficiently. The other thing is just it's a process of comparing how much you both did. So at the very beginning of the game, let's say we're both at 0-0, right? We go, okay, who did more? Did I do more? Did he do more? Who did I get a big juicy fire strike? Did I, swing into a bunch of stuff? If you died early and he won the fight, then he probably did more than you, right? That's how he got his ult faster than you, even though you got a big juicy 40 fire strike in right at the very beginning, was because he won the fight and therefore he got a bunch of ult charge off of stuff, right? While you were dead. So
Yeah.
just comparing how much did we do, and so far they've been rolling you guys, right? You used your shatter, like that you use your shatter, and he has not used it since, right? Which means that
Yeah.
he has shatter, right? We just be pretty guaranteed of that, right? Now that he's used it, we know, okay, in the next fight he might not have it unless he runs you guys over again, right? So it's just the process of paying attention to when was the last time he used it, how much has he done. You can compare it to how much you've done, especially like if you're similar and like if you're both starting out at a lower number, right? You can compare it to how much are you doing, because it's our job to block it. We want to make sure we're paying attention to it. We've died quite a bit so far. I think we've died 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times so far. So just I guess why don't we talk on that a bit? I guess let's see the rest of the rounds here. And then we'll talk about it. When we're walking back from spawn, usually, and like unless you like your whole, basically depending on the situation, Most of the times you're going to just charge out of spawn to get back faster. Right, this is going to get you back to the fight faster. It means you get more ult charge. It means you can help your team out in the fights. It's not an ability that you really like. You'd be like getting back probably 2 times faster, and it's gonna mean it is well worth it to use the ability because it's not like it's a super powerful ability that you like need to have on you as soon as the fight starts. So oh yeah, we do charge, but it's just slightly delayed there. All right. I like they were fire striking off a cooldown.
So
That's good.
Here, here basically what I was thinking is I felt like I was just absorbing damage with my shield and not getting much value out of it, but my team was right there that I felt like I also had to protect them from getting picked off.
So in that instance, that's a hard one. Like if you feel like your team's behind you, the other thing I'd say is like maybe we're a little bit close. Like we don't need to necessarily be holding cart here. We can maybe be holding corner, and then that
Yeah.
maybe provides better protection for your team. You have to think of a couple different things here. So, first off, when you're holding corner, so we're at 450. So obviously you want to use cover, right? I think so far we've had a decent grasp of that, right? You use corners, you use cover to help our team out, but you get some other benefits of holding corners, right? First off, shield management when you're holding up a shield, right? When you're on a corner, right? It means that half of the shield's is in the wall, and you can even do more than half the shield, right? You can do this, and therefore the shield is actually taking a lot less damage because it can't take as nearly as much spam damage, right? It's only a tiny little sliver, or it's just half of it, right? Which means that our team could still be shooting through it, and our shield's taking less damage overall. The other thing to keep in mind is that if we're up here, which is kind of where the cart was in comparison to the corner, right? If we're up here, this is encouraging our team to have worse positioning, right? This is us being on the open. If shield breaks, if shield goes down, if we drop shield, if they get around our shield, if let's just say like something happens at all, and we don't have shield, well now we're out in the open, which means that it takes us multiple seconds to get behind cover, and our team's out in the open, which means it takes them multiple seconds to get behind cover, and therefore that's bad positioning. Instead, we probably want to play on the corner, where if shield goes down, we just have the corner to play off of, right? And this also, as the main tank, encourages our team to play around the corner, right? Because as the main tank, we, out of any other character in the game or any other role in the game, right, we have the most say over where our team positions, right? We're not, of course, you're not always going to listen to us, but you definitely have more of a say in your positioning than your Mercy does, right? So when we're holding a corner, it encourages our team to play using better cover, and we can also maybe make it so that our shield's taking less damage rather than if we're standing. We were using cart as cover, which is decent, but I'd still probably say the corner would be better, right? The other thing is that you kind of need to assess the danger level sometimes. Like for example, it might depend on like how close they are. For example, like if they're a mile off, you might not need that. Like you might not need the shield because it's unlikely that they actually hit shots from that far away, right? Whereas if they're a lot closer and the fight's actually beginning, now you might need shield, right? So it's just some things to think about. Like for example, like right here where they're so far back, maybe shield's not necessary because they're all using cover right now, or a decent amount of cover, and they're like super far back. But once they push up and they're in the fight, it's probably they're at more danger than right now, right? So you kind of have to go for that risk reward type of deal because your shield is going to be more necessary as they get closer, not less necessary, right?
Okay.
Okay, Fire Strike's looking good so far. Probably don't want to be pushing too far past the cart because now we're leaving cover, right? We probably want to hold behind the cart, right? Because if we're right here, right, we can swing on the right. If that means he has to push into us, right? They can't move cart unless they push us. Now, if we're right here and we're holding a cart or we're holding corner, because probably corner would be a little bit better, but in any case, right, if we're using cover and we're swinging from behind this, well, now we can swing on Reinhardt while being healed, and Reinhardt's being shot by our whole team, but their whole team can't shoot us, right? So we have the advantage in this instance because 1, 2, 3 of them can't do any damage to us, whereas our entire, or at least if they're peeking, right? Whereas their Reinhardt's exposing him to our team, right? But look at us in this instance. We're actually exposing ourselves to their entire team, right? Where Reinhardt can see us, 1, 2, 3 can see us, right? Vap and Zarya can see us, right? So if we used cover here, we could just be taking this duel against a Reinhardt the exact same way in almost the exact same timing, except for we're taking a lot less damage, right? So, I honestly, you have a decent grasp of cover, but I'm just gonna like re-emphasize the point here that good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover, and keep in mind that the usage of cover does not only mean I'm going to stand next to cover, because we could stand next to cover all we want, and cover's not going to do anything for us. Usage of cover means standing next to cover, and if we need it, getting behind cover, right? The cover doesn't do anything unless we're actually using it. So that means that in this instance, we just want to make sure we're using it. That way, we're not stepping on the open and taking 4 times the damage, right? Or 3 times the damage, or whatever.
Yeah, or 6 times in this case.
Exactly. Yep. Oh, make sure we're not walking out of spawn when we still have a bunch of teammates left in spawn. Like, look how much time you have, right? You have a good like 10, 15, probably 15 seconds here, right before cart gets close enough. And we just freshly had 2 people die and Ash walking out of spawn. So right now, essentially, we're saying, in our walking out here, we're saying like I want to come into this fight and lose it automatically, right? Because in this instance, this is essentially a lost fight before we even started. It's a 6 versus 3, and a 6 versus 3 is a lost fight, right? I don't think I need to emphasize that point very much, which means that we should probably just sit and spawn and wait for them to get out to us before, like, get a group up with our team before we're re-engaging. Because even if we land the big shatter, we have less follow-up and we're not able to capitalize on it. Watch the super long pins. Long pins, not something you're going to want to do too often. Even medium pins, not something you're going to want to do too often unless it's for mobility specifically. Short pins, so let's say we're pinning from here to there, right? Short pin. We get out of the animation pretty much immediately, right? It takes half a second and we're out and we're good. We can shield again. We can back up, right? But if we're pinning from here to there, well, now we're stuck in that animation and we can't leave it until Overwatch 2. And we can't leave it, which means that they get to stun us for free, they get to shoot at us for free, and we're probably going to die, which means that in this instance, I would say there's a pretty good chance that we're going to die because of the fact that we pinned in and got way, way super aggressive. And we do die, right, because we got into pretty bad positioning, we engaged with the other team, and we did a medium pin, right? So we don't want to go for those most of the time. I'll wait till the round ends, and then I have another topic going on. Or maybe we stall it out? No. No. All right. So, survivability. So far in that game, we died 7 times. I was keeping track. We're at 5 minutes and 30 seconds, which the round started at 40 seconds in, so roughly 5 minutes, right? So we died. All right, getting back to where we were. All right, we died 7 times in 5 minutes, right? So that means each death, right? I want to emphasize the importance here. Each death is 10 seconds of time that we are respawning, and roughly 10 seconds of time where we're regrouping and walking back from spawn, right? Which means that each death is roughly 20 seconds, right? So 7 times 20. Oh, I did the math wrong, right? 7 times 20 is 144 divided by 60 for minutes. Means that so far, in this game, we have died a total, or we have been dead, sorry, for 2 minutes and 10 seconds, right? In a 5-minute game, we've been dead for almost half of it, right? Which is a ridiculous number to think of because in 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and that's only for 5 minutes. Let's say this is a 15-minute game. Let's say we go for, let's just make it like 13 minutes, right? Let's say we keep up this current pacing and we go 15 deaths in total, and maybe like we'll just go for a rough estimate of 1 death a minute, right? 15 deaths in total. That means in this entire game, we will have been dead for 5 whole minutes, right? Which is, again, very, very bad number to think of. On top of you not existing for that time, you're also putting your team at an active disadvantage. So that means that every time that you're dying at the beginning of a fight, right, it's not necessarily as bad if you're dying like last in a fight. There's a difference between the two, right? You could die first and it'd be terrible, and you die last and it could actually be a good decision because at that point you've already lost the fight. But if you're dying and you're dead for 5 whole minutes, that means that that's probably like 4 or 5, I probably said like 4 shatters you could have had, right? That's
Yeah,
the time that you could have been,
it's like
participating and
worse.
doing things, right?
It's like
Good.
worse than having a lever, then I guess,
Mhm.
because I'm giving them ult charge, but I'm not in the fight really.
Exactly, right? So just want to emphasize the point of survivability is really, really important and making sure we're existing and doing things. So how we can look to improve upon that, right? Because I don't want to just say you're bad at this. Is you want to look to, like we said before, identify the mistakes. So the mistake, obviously, here is dying. But how did we die, right? There's roughly going to be like 4 different main ways that you could die, right? You could die from a misuse of abilities, which would have been our last death, right? Charging into their team. You could die from over aggression, again, last death, right? Some of them can be a combination of them, right? So last death, we were way, way too over aggressive, and then therefore we died, right? This could be a lack of positioning. Again, that was the last death, right? Where we're super, super far out of position, out in the open without our team, and then we could the fourth one being having a lack of awareness, which again it would be the last death because we weren't paying attention to the fact that we were missing half our team, right? So when we pay attention to like we had to figure out like what was the mistake, what did I do wrong. Not all of them are going to have all 4 of them. Sometimes it's just one of them. Sometimes the deaths, 25% of deaths really aren't going to have anything, right? Sometimes like for example when you get grab dragoned, what are you going to do about that, right? Not much you can do. So some of them, some of them you're not going to be able to do much about, but you have a ton of them that you are going to be able to fix. So look at the mistake. When you have bad positioning, go, the second step is thinking, what could you do instead, right? If you have bad positioning, where can you stand instead? If you have bad ability usage, how could you have used your ability usage instead? And the last fight probably would be don't use it at all, right? And then final step would just be looking to apply that, right? In our future games, make sure we're actively looking at our deaths and trying not to die and paying attention to our survivability and why did we die and making sure that we're not repeating the same mistakes over and over again. All right, so here we swap to Monkey, it looks like. Also, strengths and weaknesses real quick. I forgot to go over that. So, ability usage, honestly, Fire Strike's looking really solid. Just make sure we're not fire striking when it's gonna get us killed, because sometimes maybe we're like fire striking when we're too far out in the open, and that's maybe not gonna be the best for your health. So just make sure we're not fire striking when it's like super dangerous. Charging, make sure we're not charging into our death, right? No long, medium or long charges, but besides that, it wasn't too terrible. Make sure charging out of spawn. Shield management did need work though. That one was the big one we talked about, especially on first fight. So overall ability usage, a lot. Most of the time they were pretty decent, but they did have a lot of inconsistencies. So I'd probably say right now we're working with like kind of a low priority to high priority. So right now I'd probably say that your ability usage is looking like a medium high, maybe. Yeah, we'll put a medium high for now. I might adjust that. Priority to work on. Ultimate usage. I saw you use 2, and honestly, we didn't get too many people in them. We at least got it past the Reinhardt shield, though the first one we got 1 kill, sorry, 1 shatter, and then the second time I think we got 2 things. So just maybe look for some more people in your shatters is the one thing I would say to it. Though good timing with them, as well as not holding on to it for 4 fights in a row, and also at least we hit something and we got it past the shield, so it wasn't honestly terrible. So maybe I'd put ultimate usage at like a low to medium priority. Now moving on, mechanics. Mechanics do not exist on main tank, so that is not a category that I have to go over. Positioning. Honestly, positioning. I'm trying to think. We did talk about a little bit about positioning. But I don't think we've gone too much into it. So I'd probably say that one's like kind of a medium, and then awareness. Awareness is probably gonna come in at like medium, maybe medium high. So, and then survivability would come in somewhere. Maybe we'll just replace mechanics with the mechanics category with survivability, because so far, yeah, sometimes I'll like pair survivability with something else. Like I'll pair it with positioning or awareness, but so far it's looking like survivability is coming from a ton of different things. So we'll just give it its own category and say that one at the moment is looking like a high priority to work on, right? And then you have positioning and awareness at medium and ability usage at medium high, right?
Vital signs normalizing.
Make sure we're not holding down our left click if it's like on nothing in particular. Here we just kind of keep holding down our left click when we could just be reloading or doing something else. Like we keep kind of left clicking there for no reason. Alright, so we're playing Monkey like we're a Reinhardt. That's not how Monkey's playstyle works. So Monkey is a dive character, and he is not a brawl character. So essentially what that means is, I guess let me figure out how I'm supposed to word this. It's hard, I
I
guess
think I
we'll,
get what you're saying.
yeah,
I'm walking straight up to
mhm,
the Reinhardt, and I shouldn't be
exactly.
doing that. I should
Mhm.
be trying to pick someone out of position and dive them or something like that.
Exactly, right? So just starting off with just a basic target priority, on no character are tanks our main focus, right? Tanks are not ever really the thing that we should be focusing. With which I'll explain in a second. The exception is like when you can't. But in any case, right? Tanks aren't where you want to focus. They have two to three times the health of the other characters. They have tanking abilities, shields. They're super difficult to kill. And on top of that, DPS and supports just output more statistical value. Though tanks are still very important because they provide space. In any case, the exception to that is when tanks are low, when they're out of position, and when they're the only thing to shoot at. So on a character like Reinhardt, you are stuck in the category of tanks are the only thing that you can shoot at, right? Because how the heck as Reinhardt are you going to get on their backline? Because that's not how Reinhardt as a character works. So on Reinhardt, that's why on Reinhardt you're going to be going up against the other tanks all the time. But on Monkey, you have the option to leap to the backline in half a second. So you probably want to be doing that, not sitting on their tanks, right? Especially when we have a tiny little when we have a Tesla cannon, right? Tickle cannon, right? So here, best play would probably be to leap to their high ground. High ground's really, really great for a dive because what you can do is you can just do this where you get up to the high ground, wait a couple seconds for your jump, you drop on top of them, you bubble, you go pew, 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 they shoot you, and then you just jump back up. You wait for your jump to come back, you get healed, and then you drop, and then you get back, and then you drop, and then you get back, right? And essentially what we're doing is this is called soft diving, right? Soft diving is where you essentially just keep going in over and over and over again, but you're not expecting to really do much, right? You're not really hard committing, but what you're trying to do is get ult charge. You're trying to create space. You're trying to be a distraction, and all the while you can once you see something who's low, when something's that's out of position, when you get your ultimate, when you get an opportunity, that is where you hard dive and you go in really hard, right? Where you actually commit rather than just be going in to get out immediately, right?
That makes
That's
sense.
that's kind of like the play style that you're looking for in Monkey. Whereas here we just kind of like poked on the front line and then we were dead.
Normally, what I'll do, or what I used to do, and that's why I've kind of brawled now, is I would dive with my jump, but then I would just dive straight onto him. I wouldn't
Yeah.
do the soft dive technique, and then I would
Mhm.
end up not having an escape.
Exactly, right. And then that's usually not how you're going to want to approach a monkey. That's why high ground maps are like super good for a dive, and then also because they can get to a high ground instantly. The only time that a hard dive's really going to work, and sometimes like even especially in coordinated environments, it's even not going to work that well, is if you have like a whole team to go with you, right? But if we're on our own, how the heck are we going to dive in and kill anything, right? So instead, what we do is we kind of want to do the like if we don't have a high ground to go to, you can just literally do what we were just doing, and we just kind of walk into them, and then we use jump to get to escape. But we can be a little bit more clever about it, right? We can maybe try to go around to the side, maybe try to get around just past the tanks, right? So we're not just doing it on top of the Reinhardt. Do we have our team with us? Make sure we're engaging when we have our whole team with us. It looks like maybe we have some people lagging behind, so just a couple. Give it like 2-3 extra seconds. All right. Yeah.
This is why I picked this one, because in the beginning I thought
Yep.
it was going good, right?
Mhm.
And then it just was like the worst game I've ever had from there on, and that's why I think that's why I picked this one.
Yeah. So in this instance, first off, we're running Monkey with maybe like a comp that's okay for Monkey. We're running a double bubble, but like, honestly, this like I don't think Monkey's like super fantastic on this map or super fantastic like I'd probably say at the moment Monkey's not the best character, and he's pretty also like he's comp and map selective, right? He only likes to go with certain like a dive comp, and he only likes to be on dive maps, right? He's not gonna so this isn't a dive comp and this isn't a dive map, so that just right off the bat this is an instance where you might not find a ton of value on Monkey as a character. But then also again, just making sure we're not immediately hard diving in, because that's not really gonna work out for you too well. So let's just see. So you kind of see the thing that just keeps happening over and over again is we dive in on top of Reinhardt. We're not going to accomplish anything, right? Because this is Reinhardt, right? We're versus us, who is Monkey. Reinhardt wins this. So to just reiterate, tanks aren't where we want to shoot at. That's the wrong person to try to shoot at, right? So we just again get instantly shredded, and then now we're stuck in this survivability loop where now we've just died 3 times in like a minute, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe 2 minutes. Alright, so now we swap off to the Reinhardt. Honestly, I'd say a good decision. Probably Monkey wasn't the best character to be trying to run. Nice. Did we block that?
Yeah.
Oh, half blocked it. I think
didn't
he
notice
just
that. Yeah.
I think he got around it. I heard somebody go down behind us. Alright, so honestly blocks have been looking pretty solid though. Oh.
I was gonna try to pin him against that, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
So in this instance, even before we get booped, I'd probably say that's just a little bit too far because we have so many people looking at us, right? So like right as we're charging, look how far we are away from that, right? That's another mid-range charge. This means that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people with a Discord get to just look at us and absolutely shred us for like a solid like 2 seconds, or we can't put up shield, right?
Yeah.
It's essentially just like a look at me and kill me button, right? And I would imagine here that we're probably maybe gonna die. Oh, and maybe gonna die. No, and now we're dead. Okay, so as you see, right, this is learning from our mistakes, right? When this happens, and this has happened 2 times this game, right? Which is, you're gonna notice this is probably gonna be like if we have been doing this twice this game, I would imagine this is something we have done in the past as well, right? When
Yeah.
something does not work, and it continues to not work, and it continues to not work, just assume that it's not gonna work and try not to do that anymore. Right? So there's just
Yeah.
learning from your mistakes, right? When a charge doesn't work, and I'm just trying to help you, like, because this is how I self improved at the game, right? I didn't get coaching until it already hit my peak. I went from silver to 4468, and is mostly self taught, based on that process of, if it's not working, it's multiple times, and it's probably not going to work, right? So just try to
I
learn
think
from
that's
your mistake.
literally the
Yep.
definition of insanity is like trying the same thing over and over and expecting different results. I've
Yep.
heard that. I don't know if that's actually the definition.
I would assume that's maybe one of the, because
Yeah.
things have multiple definitions. I probably say it's like one of the maybe quotier definitions, but probably I wouldn't say that's maybe the most common used definition.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've definitely heard that one before. All right. Are you aware of how to shield hop?
Yes. So like you jump and then pull up your shield while you're in the air, right?
Yep.
But you don't hop while you have the shield because then you just move super slow still.
Yep. Essentially, so you know the tech, right? So now, when do you implement it? The tech is especially going to be very useful when you are trying to take space or leave space, right? So the same times where we're talking about, those are situations where you can shield. That's where you are shield hopping. As when you're trying to take space very fast, right? Does multiple things, right? I'd probably say 3 different things here, right? So let's say we're trying to cross this wide open area and take this space, right? They're obviously going to be shooting at us. If we try to walk in without a shield, we're going to get shredded. If we try to walk in with a shield, this means that we're going super slow at a snail's trot, and they get to shoot us the entire time, and they shred our shield, so now we don't have a shield, right? The faster we close this gap, the less damage and the less time they have to damage us, which means that our whole team, including our shield, takes less damage, right? The faster we cross. That's why in a brawl composition, Lucio's like really good, and he's always been kind of one of the staples of it, is because the faster you're moving, the less time they have to shoot you, right? So that's the first thing, right? Shields, team and us are going to take less damage when we're moving faster, right? And of course, we can't move. We can't just completely drop shield. The other thing is this is going to rotate. This again is going to keep your shield alive longer because you're going to be only putting it up half of the time, which means that you're rotating the damage between yourself and your team while probably not giving enough damage to kill anybody, right? Your team's not going to die because it's only a little bit of tickle damage seeping through. Your shield's taking up most of it. It's just not all of it, right? Which means that your team can just heal it up and you're good. Meanwhile, your shield's staying alive longer without, being dead completely. And then finally, the third thing that you're doing is you am blanking on the third thing. What was the third thing that I was doing?
Probably the fact that I'm pushing in without my team again for like the 30th time.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of the third benefit to the shield hopping. I guess speed. Maybe it was just speed
I know
that I
when
was thinking of.
you're doing it when you're backing up, I've used it to like look down to kind of block like May or Reaper from getting like getting past the shield. But I don't know if that was what you were gonna say. Or
Yeah,
not.
no, I think I was just thinking of speed and less damage. Are the two main ones that I was talking about, right? So you just go faster, you're in there longer, and you take less damage on your shield, right? So those are the big main ones, right? Whereas here, when we just kind of do the slow approach to their shield, like we were doing before, right? We just kind of just walked up real slow, like, right? This just means they have a ton of time to spam it down, right? We're just waltzing in, right? And then we drop shield completely. Which is fine because they did actually they did back up around the corner. Alright, so they don't have a shatter. Alright, that's unfortunate. Not like I said, that's one of deaths, right, where you don't really have much of an impact on. Alright, the most you could do is really like maybe like ult track and communicate, but I don't honestly that's not something that I don't think we need to put much time into. Alright, so now we can assume Reinhardt a Shatter, right? Because he does have Shatter, right? So he hasn't used it in a couple fights. Here, notice you're doing this very, very slow, long hold shield approach where we're not really blocking very much in particular. So now it's at half of its life. Okay, need to concentrate on landing our Shatters a bit better. To start off here. Second off, we gotta pay attention to the flow of the fight here. So we do use the grab dragon, and we swing into it, and we get 2 picks. So we're actually shattering after we get 2 picks here. So first off, let's talk about that. So how to tell whether or not you've won or lost a fight, because this has come up like a little bit before. Basically, it's coming down to kill feed, right? Watching the top right corner of your screen. When you are up 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage, right? When you have an advantage, you can play more aggro and because you can get away with more because they have less people to shoot you. When you're up 2 to 3, that means that you have pretty much won the fight, right? At that point, you no longer want to use ults, and it also means that you want to play super aggro so you can go and get stagger kills. Now, this also goes the exact opposite way. When you're down 1 to 2, that's a disadvantage. Now, you didn't lose the fight yet, but you might want to play more passive because you're losing the fight, right? And then when you're down 2 to 3, that is a lost fight, and in a lost fight, you don't want to use ults, and that means that you also want to look to get out if possible, and if you can't, then let them kill you so you don't stagger yourself. And then, of course, don't walk in when you've essentially already lost the fight if you're walking in with only 3 people. Right now, in this instance, we're up 2 people, which means that we're kind of in the middle between it being a massive advantage and being a 1 fight. This would be at least the moment where we're hesitant to use our ultimate, where maybe we're thinking, maybe I don't need it, right? So already, first off, the timing maybe not the best. The second off is we just completely whiff it. Now when we're trying to land the shatter, we're 10 minutes in. Big thing I think that we're maybe not understanding with our shatter is kind of how the shatter cone works. So why don't we just get it up? But just keep in mind that your shatter is a cone, right? So when we have our shatter, it's actually going to spread like from the point of impact, right? It's going to spread outwards, right? So it's going to start off very, very tiny, right? It's going to start off basically like on on the hitbox of like one person, and then it's going to spread out, so it goes this way and that way, right? But what we're doing constantly is that we're getting too close to things, so that we're only shattering one single thing. So what you're going to want to do is, if we're trying to hit multiple people, we're going to back up a little bit, right? Is we're going to back up, and that way it hits more people. Whereas what's happening is we're trying to land shatters, and like Reinhardt's like right here on our left, and this has happened like twice, and he's on our left, and we're trying to hit the shatter, and we just shatter here, and then now it doesn't hit anything. It's just, or it hits one person, and that's it, right? But if we back up, then it hits two people, right? Actually, I guess I can kind of demonstrate this. So like you see, it's kind of a cone here.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
If I stand in between them, which is what I just did with the Reinhardt and Zenyatta, it's not going to hit either. But if I back up, it'll get bigger and bigger.
Exactly, right? So you want to make sure you're just backing up slightly, so you're getting more people in it, right? And you're kind of understanding the range of the cone, because so far it's, you know, we've had it missed quite a few of the shatters that we're trying to land. So shatter is still seeming like something we want to work on and get better at. I don't remember where we were at. We were right at here, right? So we win the fight anyways, right? Oh, maybe not. At least they're backing up here. Slow approach, right? Slow, slow, slow. Snail's trot, right? Just gets us on top of them faster if we're doing a shield hop.
I thought about charging him there, but I didn't.
Well, that'd probably be a good decision. Oh, remembering that he's still a shatter, right? He hasn't used it since, I don't think he's used it once this round, right? And it's been 3.5 minutes, or maybe he used it once before, but if he did, right, it's been a long while, so we just want to make sure we're paying attention to it, right? Because that is our job. Right now we got bailed out by our team. Alright, and very nice. Now we have health. We can probably push and get aggro. Alright, good, good. Okay, pushing a little bit far out into the open, right? Want to make sure we're keeping good cover usage, which should be probably using cart, or using more so like something like this, where we're standing over this way. That way, if, you know, we start getting shot at, we can go like this, boop, they can't see me, right? And that way we not getting shot at. But from here, where are we going to go to get behind cover if we start getting shot at and our shield breaks or whatever, right? We're not really anywhere, so we're just really far out in the open here. Now we're going to leave this and go and talk over review, and then go over the main points, and then wrap up the session from there. Alright, so abilities. Fire Strike, make sure that we're not... Oh, actually I didn't demonstrate that before, but just remember, like with Fire Strike tech, right, we don't have to just stand here and Fire Strike, excuse me. We don't have to stand here and Fire Strike. Instead, what we can do is we can charge up the Fire Strike animation here and then turn the corner, and that looks like this, where we press the button and then turn the corner, right? That way we're actually out in the open for a lot less time, and that would actually resolve that one death where we kind of turn the corner, Fire Strike, and then instantly got melted, right? This would just mean that we're out in the open for a lesser period of time, which means that we died less.
Would
and it
you
means
put up your shield to see around the corner so you know where you're aiming?
I mean, you could. I mean, that's definitely an option to go for. I mean, we could also just, like, I guess while we're turning the corner, we can Fire Strike and then kind of hope we're hitting something, or we can listen to where they are, or, yeah, I mean, you definitely have a couple options here. You could, that is definitely an option that you could do, right? Because we can just do this and then see where we're going, and then we can just come here and aim, right?
Yeah.
So that is something you could do, especially if you have time for it, but a lot of the time as well, you can maybe even just peek for half a second, go boop, all right, and then Fire Strike, right? And then do something like that. So that's things to work with. It just make sure not Fire Striking out in the open where we're just gonna get shredded. Charges, right? Short range charge. If we're charging from here to there, right? It's like within 5 meters or so, right? The charge ends immediately, right? Ends in half a second. But if we're charging from like 15 meters away, like we're charging from like anything probably 10 meters further is probably too long of a charge, right? Because this locks us in the animation for a whole second, right? Which means that that's a lot more time for them to react, to stun us, to shoot at us, and therefore we're going to be a lot more likely to die because they can just cancel it, right? So just make sure we're not going for medium long range charges. Now you can do it if we're just using it for mobility, like just use it to get out of spawn real quick, right? That's usually a good way to do it, unless you're just don't do it into their team, right? Now shield usage, right? Couple different things, right? Management. Make sure we're using it and we're positioning ourselves on corners so that we can put halfway through shields. Look to when you're taking space or backing out of space. Look to shield hop, right? That looks like something like this. You can use your shield to look behind you, like so, right? You can that's by holding the shield button, right click, and then also holding left click at the same time. You can drag it around and look behind you, right? Shield management as well. It's a couple different things you use shield to block at. You use shield to block when you're low, when your team is low, when you're pushing space and backing out of space by shield hopping, and when you're blocking abilities and ultimates, right? Those are the main ones, and also so just make sure we're not just eating up needless spam when we don't need to. Also, sometimes just make sure we're not constantly flickering our shield up when we're trying to let it recharge, right? Because that'll just cancel the recharge. So make sure you're just letting it recharge and not just doing this every once in a while, because that'll just cancel it from recharging. And then moving on to your ultimate usage. Ultimate usage, just make sure that we are actually trying to land more than like 1 or 2 people. Besides that, decently good timing with it. Make sure we're not going out and ulting when we don't have teammates with us, which actually happened quite a bit. So just make sure we're not, we're paying, that's an awareness thing, right? Paying attention when we have our team, but we also want to make sure we're not ulting when we've won or lost a fight, right? That includes losing a fight before you even walk into it, right? And making sure you have your team with you. Make sure you're besides that, I think the timing was decent, besides just making sure we had our team with us, and then making sure we're hitting more than just like 1 or 2 people with it, preferably. 2 is kind of like the minimum usually of what you're looking to get in it. Back up a little bit from them so we can kind of get more people. If we're all the way up here, we're going to be getting like 1 thing, but if we're like backing up a little bit and we let them kind of group up for it, now we're hitting a little bit more, right, where they're all going down. Right, now, that is pretty much it for Shatter. Now moving on, Reinhardt doesn't have mechanics, so positioning, make sure that we're not out in the open, right? If we are standing like right here, it takes us a bunch of seconds to get behind cover, right? Like 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover. Now from here we can't get shot at and we're good, right? If we're dueling a Reinhardt, we can stand around this corner and swing on the corner and get them without, while still having cover usage, right? And letting our team heal us up, and we can keep them at bay, right? But if we walk on the open here, they can all see us and shoot at us, right? So you make sure you're using cover, make sure it's positioning next to cover. Good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover, right?
Yeah.
On top of that, did we talk about much other positioning? I'm trying to recall. I think that might have been it.
Yeah, I think my understanding of cover is good. I just leave it too soon.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's it. With Monkey, we just want to make sure we're taking high grounds, right? Not just directly attacking the Reinhardt. But besides that, I think honestly Reinhardt, our position is pretty decent. It's just we left cover quite a decent bit, right?
Yeah.
Now awareness, right? Couple things with awareness, right? Make sure that we are paying attention to our health and our shield health, right? So we know when we can get aggro. Pay attention to, especially big one, is do I have my team with me? Do I not have our team with me, right? So instead of just kind of walking around, always looking forwards, doing a slow pan, instead we want to make sure we're looking left and right and doing a 360, especially right before we're about to push in aggressively, right? Use your shield to look behind you, to know where they're at. Pay attention to where the enemy team is as well. Also pay attention to kill feed, right? When we're up 1 to 2 or down 1 to 2, that's an advantage or disadvantage. 2 to 3 is a won or lost fight. No ults in a won or lost fight. And you also want to look to get super aggro, or you want to back up, right? And if you can, or if you can't, just let them kill you, right? Just make sure we're respecting that as well, and then make sure we're paying attention to Shatter, right? That's another big one, so that we can actually block Shatters effectively. Making sure we're paying attention to when was the last time I used it, how much has he been doing, and how much, like what is he having in comparison to, like how much did he do in comparison to me, right? Are the big ones for that. Now, survivability being the last one. Big thing was we died so very much. We died a ton. So you just make sure we're trying to stay alive more, right, instead of dying, and then that'll allow us to do more things and stay alive longer, right? Definitely don't want to be out not in fights for entire 20 seconds each, as well as not putting our team at or also putting our team at a disadvantage, right? On Monkey,
Yeah.
make sure we're not immediately hard diving, so we're not going like in like this, like immediately every time, but instead we can look to do soft dives where we either poke on the front line a little bit, or we, for example, like we leave up top behind them or to a high ground or whatever, and then we drop on top of them, right? So we're gonna wait for our stuff, then we drop on top, we poke, we're getting a little bit lower, so we leap back up, we peek for heals, or when we get back up, we get our cooldowns back, or at least our jump back, and then we do the process over again, right? We wait for an opportunity. We wait till something's slow, till something's out of position, till something is or also we have our ultimate, right? And then we do a hard dive and get aggressive. Now, target priority as well with our Monkey was really the big thing, was make sure we're shooting at the right things, right? Don't shoot at tanks, shoot at supports and DPS, right? Whenever it's an option, and try to position to get them. Now, main points. Number one is going to be survivability, because we died a ton, and that really had a big impact on our ability to do things. Now, there's a ton of different things that fed into it. Just pay attention to why we died, right? And try to stay alive. Number two, I'd probably put at our ability usage, because it was quite inconsistent and it also resulted in a couple of our deaths, and we just want to make sure we're using better ability usage. And then three, we're going to put at our awareness. Number four, we're going to put at our... this is hard. Number four, I'm going to put at our ultimate usage, and then number five, I'm going to put at our positioning. Honestly, positioning was doing pretty solid. It was just cover usage was the only thing with it, right? Do you have any questions about anything we've talked about?
No, that's good. I know if you got something else, another session going on, you're good to go, right? I think everything you said makes sense. I understand why you're saying everything and what I did wrong, and I think it was very helpful. Do I get like notes or something? You're talking about putting things at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Do you like send that to me, or is that just something I look back to hear?
Yeah, you can write it down. You can look back to hear it. Notes is an extra you can pay for, which if you really wanted that, I can add that onto the order. But that doesn't come with it, unfortunately. But because it just takes time to write up. But yeah, in any case, it's just you can go back and listen to it. But it's also pretty decently easy to just write down real quick if you wanted to.
Yeah.
As a reiteration, right? Just maybe in case you want to write it down right now. It is number one would be survivability. Number two would be ability usage. Number three would be your, if I'm remembering correctly, I said awareness. Number four would be ultimate usage, and number five would be our positioning. All right. So if you didn't have anything else, I'm going to stop the recording.